It is 2021, part 2, or 2.1 or something, since it's now past the halfway point. I just spent the last 2 weeks setting up my 2021 new journal setup and August, and let me tell you, the anxiety was high. I'm terrible at staying calm in relaxing situations, so this was definitely interesting. I could have done them without the anxiety, but that's not my style. I prefer to overthink and stress myself through situations, and then sit back and take a breath, and then repeat. Anyway, it is a beautiful day to set up a new bullet journal. We are in the midst of yet another heat wave, which is crazy for this part of Canada. It's usually pretty wet and cool in this part, so this is new. So this current look will be my permanent look now for the next several weeks until it is not so humid and disgusting. The plants are loving it though, and everything is so vibrant and lush. And aside from the sweaty, sleepless nights, I've been enjoying it too. I've been going for lots of walks outside and enjoying nature in all of its glory. The mosquitoes and I are basically BFFs now. I am practically a walking bug bite. I've been eating lots of protein pancakes, which have basically become my life source now. My wallet and stomach need to get on the same page, but it's fine. I've also picked up a new addiction to the iced macchiatos from Starbucks, and I'm pretty sure my blood sugars are doing fantastic. So we're gonna start this new day, new journal with some beautiful weather and thoughts of tasty treats. For this second almost half of 2021, I've migrated into a notebook therapy journal. I could have used my own handmade journal, but I decided to buy another mass-produced one to compare my own to. Also, couldn't resist that adorable whale on the cover. What can I say? I'm a consumer at heart. I actually hate these first pages that basically just say this book belongs to, so I'm covering it entirely with some new stickers and a photo. Well, not new sticker. I had a sticker book that's been sitting around barely touched for months, so this was a good time to use it. I actually took the photo with a little Instax mini camera, which I love. It makes adorable little Polaroids and they're great for journals. I held it down with some washi and another sticker, then put my name in it. I wasn't thrilled with any of this lettering, but that's what happens when you don't plan it out, I guess. I flip-flopped a lot in this setup between using Tombows and Crayola Super Tips. I prefer Tombows for precision since the tips come to such a fine point, but for basic coloring I find the Crayola actually works great. If anything, their coverage is a little more consistent and even. I just really suck at coloring in the lines with their fat tips. So already I forgot what this flower is here that I drew on the left. I'm pretty sure I just googled tall flowers to find something that matched the look I was going for. It might be delphiniums, but don't hold me to that. I've definitely had a few occasions now where I thought I drew one thing and it turned out to be entirely something different. I kinda drew it so that the bottom portion of the plant was fully bloomed, then had all these buds up at the top. I added a bit of gradient with the darker pink at the base of each bud, then continued that into the center of the bloomed flowers. Then I got this great idea that I should draw a border around everything and color in the box. Why? Because color looks great against black backgrounds. It sounded great in theory, but I greatly underestimated how much work that would be. The second I started outlining, I realized I just signed myself up for an hour of coloring in a box. So I basically outlined the whole flower and the borders of the box before coloring in the rest of the body with my Tombow. It took forever, but I couldn't even be mad at it because I love how it turned out. added this pink strip, which is going to tie in the page with the next. I drew this kind of style for numbers once back in February and I loved it. It's so elegant looking, so I had to bring it back for some more love. They're super simple doodles, especially in comparison to that last flower. They're really just wobbly circle petals layered over each other, but when they're done they look so much more complicated. And that's my favorite kind of art, the kind that takes no effort but makes you look like you're really skilled. Down at the bottom, I added a quote I found, probably on Pinterest. It says, "If you had the courage to begin, then you have the courage to succeed." I'm all about motivational quotes like this, and I found this one to be really fitting for where I'm at in life right now, especially with starting a business. Very much like the quote, "Feel the fear and do it anyway." I feel like a key page is something I don't need ever, since I obviously know what my own markings and symbols mean. But I also feel like a bullet journal isn't complete without one, and it's another excuse to add more artwork anyway, so I can't say no to that. Maybe down the road I'll look back on an old journal and be like, what the hell do all these symbols mean? Then I can turn back to the key page and educate myself. Maybe? Anyway, as you can see, we have two boxes. And guess what's happening with one of them? If you guessed getting colored in, you guessed correctly. So in the left box, I've drawn some lupines, which are surprisingly hard to draw. The petals have these weird half-moon shapes, which makes it really difficult to stack up one on top of the other all the way up the stalk. Then they do this weird overlapping thing at the top, and it took me ages to figure out how to draw that. Mines are weird. Since lupines seem to come in every color of the spectrum, I did one in purple and one with a purple to pink gradient. I've seen tons on the side of the highway with the pink gradient, so I wanted to add one of those here. They've also got these weird starburst looking, firework looking leaves, which I don't think I've ever noticed until having to Google them for references. I probably drew mine way too big, but oh well. Then I started outlining the individual petals of the flowers, which really made the purple pop and made me really excited. As nice as this looked though, I don't think I'll ever draw lupines again. I took a break from the flowers for a second to write my extremely complicated legend, then went back to detailing the lupines. And then, the box coloring. I won't bore you with watching the hour-long process of outlining, but I did save a little bit of the coloring at the end for you to watch because I know how satisfying it is to see something colored in smoothly. You're welcome. Alright, so I don't know about you guys, but for years I've been making overly complicated grid spacing sheets that I barely used or needed. I spend way too much time dividing the page up into every imaginable section, which was such a waste of time because usually I only need to know what the halfway point is. Maybe thirds for vertical weeklies. It was just too much, so this time I'm dialing it back and only putting in the necessities. I split a section of this page into 3 categories: fourths, thirds, and halves. On the inside of each box that represents that category, I wrote how many spaces are needed for each. Annoyingly, this journal can't be split nicely into fourths, but that's alright because I won't likely use that anyway. Then below that, I drew out a line that's the width of the entire page, and just wrote out how many blocks make up the entire width and height of each page. I hope that makes sense. I continued that pink strip through these 2 pages to tie them together and to keep the theme consistent. Now, time to spice up the page with some more flowers. This flower is called a lily of the valley, and I've never actually seen one in person, but they look super cute. They have these adorable little bell-like flowers, and the plant looks like it's nested in this huge bed of jumbo leaves. The flowers themselves are white, but I didn't want this to look too basic, so I added a small little drop shadow to them with my pale gray Tombow. I then added a little bit of detail in the rufflage, if that's a word, and of course shaded in yet another box of black for contrast. Let me tell you, my wrist was happy when this was all finally done for the third time. I didn't think I was going to be doing that again anytime soon, and then my August theme happened. So stay tuned for that. Alright, we've made it into the future spread section. I love future spread / year at a glance spreads. There's just something really satisfying to me about seeing a page full of calendars and dates listed under them. I'm not sure why, but I like it. They're also one of the most underrated and useful spreads in my opinion. I refer to this page every month to keep track of all the things I generally forget but are actually noteworthy. Last month I used 4 pages for my future log, which was really pretty but not really necessary. I also wasn't sure if I'd have space for the entire year in my journal, so I opted to include all the 12 months. Now that I know my own style a little better, I'm only including the 6 months in this log. And I don't even need July in this one, but I'm certainly not about to make everything uneven to only include 5 months. I am far too neurotic for that. I have such an affection for pale colors, so I alternated between pink and gray for the color scheme of this page. In my last journal, I also made a page entirely dedicated to tracking my Instagram growth, which was fun, but I don't think it was really working for me. I didn't think through how I was going to utilize the page, so I just kind of colored in a flower whenever I hit a milestone. But I also didn't clarify with myself what I considered to actually be a milestone, so when I reached the end of the journal, I wasn't really sure what to do with it. So this time I just made 2 sections to write down my Instagram numbers and YouTube numbers at the beginning and the end of the next 5 months. I then migrated everything that's in my previous journal for the second half of the year into this one. I tend to update this spread regularly too when new events or appointments come up. This helps prevent me from forgetting about them months down the road. I look back at this every single month when I'm setting up my new monthly spreads. Then I colored in the letters I stenciled in for the monthly headers. I love goal pages. I think they're really helpful for having something to refer to each month when you're setting up your monthly and weekly goals. They also serve well as a base to center your habit trackers around. So for example, if one of my goals for the year was to save $5,000, I would set up my monthly and weekly goals based off of that. Maybe my monthly goal would be to save $250. My weekly goal would be to put $60 or whatever into my savings. Then I would move on to my habit tracker. I could track things like no spending or meal prep, which will both support my goal of saving money. I think when it comes to achieving goals, organization and planning is crucial. If you don't come up with a plan, your goal isn't likely to be met. So pages like these are extremely helpful. Anyway, I split my goals up into 4 categories: my journal business, YouTube, physical health, and mental health. These are the 4 things I want to focus on most for the rest of the year. Alright, then I moved on to the next set of flowers, and seriously, I can't believe I haven't made a tulip theme yet because these are super fun and easy to draw, and they're beautiful. I went with pink tulips since they're a classic. When I googled them, I also realized that I have this gorgeous hint of yellow along the edges and in the base, and I loved adding that in here because the yellow made such a good pop. I'm so obsessed with how this turned out, so I think maybe I'll make a tulip theme in September. Which doesn't really match up at all since tulips are a spring flower, but I couldn't live with myself if I don't show these flowers off some more. Anyway, my dears, we have made it to the end of this setup. Here is the final flippy flip. I've already thought of things that I should have added to it, but that seems to happen every single time I set up a journal, so I guess I'm just gonna have to get used to that. Thank you so much for chilling with me here today. I appreciate you. Stay tuned for my August setup coming next week, I think. It was by far my most time-intensive setup, and it will be a miracle if I can get this all to fit into a 20-minute video. This YouTube thing is hard. Have an amazing day, hopefully free of heat waves and mosquito bites. Drink lots of water because I know myself personally have been absolute garbage at remembering to do that. Note to self. Bye!